what would you say is the thesis of Fingerprints of the Gods?
The thesis of Fingerprints of the Gods is which was published in 1995, is that there has been at least one major forgotten episode in human history, a lost civilization. Cultures call it by different names. Most commonly it's referred to as Atlantis, but I don't think it was confined to the Atlantic Ocean.
Sure.
I think this was a global civilization, a worldwide civilization, and I narrow it down to the end of the last ice age, about 12,000 years ago. I narrow down the destruction of this civilization to that time, about 12,000 years ago, but I believe it pre-existed that for many thousands of years, and that it was caught up in the dramatic and still not well understood earth changes that took place at the end of the last ice age and that led to the meltdown of the vast ice sheets that covered northern Europe and North America.
Right, now you prominently feature the Orontius Phineas and the Piri Reis maps,
Correct.
which show the subglacial topography of Antarctica under the ice.
Exactly.
Now, so your belief is that those maps were made when the ice wasn't there. That they're actually original ancient maps.
Exactly. That's why I have a section in Fingerprints of the Gods called The Mystery of the Maps, because it's one of the most puzzling pieces of evidence to come down to us from history is that certain maps that were copied in the Middle Ages from older maps, we have not got the source maps that those geographers in the 14 and 15 and 1600s
Okay, that's what
used.
one of the things I was wondering.
We don't have the source maps, but they themselves tell us. For example, Piri Reis, who was a Turkish admiral, on his famous map, of which only a fragment has survived, that shows it was drawn in 1513, and that fragment shows us the eastern seaboard of the United States and the large part of South America, right the way down to Antarctica and the western coast of Africa.
Right.
On that fragment, Piri Reis writes that he based this map, which was a world map, it's just we've lost the rest of it. He based this map on more than 100 source maps that he had found in various libraries and archives in his travels around the world. And none of those source maps have survived. And we are free to speculate that those source maps may have been extremely ancient because what he copied down onto that map unknowingly was an image of the world as it last looked more than 12,000 years ago, when there was still a mass of ice on the land, and when the southern tip of South America actually joined on to Antarctica. That is what the Piri Reis map shows. Same with the Orontius Phineas map. Same with a number of maps by Mercator. They all tell us they were honest. They said, we copied other maps to produce this map, and what they all show, astonishingly, is Antarctica. Antarctica wasn't discovered by our civilization until 1818, but it appears in glorious detail on these ancient maps. And if you follow the progression, you see that the features and character of Antarctica are changing as the maps move on. So it's almost as if they're documenting the meltdown of the last ice age. And some of them indeed do show us what's called the subglacial topography of Antarctica, how the landmass that lies under the ice. And this is really
and that wasn't even known until 1959.
Exactly. It wasn't known until we had very modern technology to run sonar surveys across the ice cap. So I think we have a huge anomaly in these ancient maps.
How the heck does a skeptic attack you on that if they're trying to attack your work?
Amazingly, what they say about Antarctica is that those geographers just felt that since there was, land at the top of the Earth, there should be land at the bottom of it as well. That even though they hadn't got there to check it out, that there should be a sort of balancing continent in the south, and so they just inserted it. And by chance, by coincidence, it turned out looking exactly like Antarctica during the last ice age. This is the astonishing thing that I face, and just will not accept it because it's so paradigm busting. It really does overturn the whole picture of history. And it's not just big dramatic things like Antarctica. There's on a map from 1424, again based on earlier maps. It's what's called a Ptolemaic map. There is a little island shown off the west coast of Ireland, and that little island is labeled High Brazil, Hybrazil, on that map. And such was the belief in the existence of High Brazil. I know of 2 expeditions that were sent out from Bristol, near where we're sitting now, to look for High Brazil. They wanted to go trade with it, find it. So there were all sorts of legends about it. But they would have needed a time machine in order to find High Brazil, because I, working with geologists who are specialists in the meltdown of the Ice Age, was able to establish that an island did stand in exactly that spot with exactly the dimensions that are indicated on that map, but it was flooded by rising sea level at the end of the Ice Age more than 12,000 years ago. So that map is freezing a little detail from the world of 12,000 years ago. Has to have been somebody there to do that. Mapping the world, and especially with accurate latitudes and longitudes, which are found in these maps, is a pretty high-tech operation. Our culture couldn't do it until the late 18th century. That's when we really began. So you're looking at evidence of a level of technology that is at least equivalent to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in our society, if not far beyond that. And this is a huge mystery.
Now,